Hello everybody, Roy the Fiend here. We've covered every Elite Four from Gens 1 to 6, except for Gen 5. Today specifically, we're covering them from the first Black and White games. Analyse and evaluate their teams, and scale them up to a hypothetical hard mode, if Game Freak ever blessed us with difficulty options. The Unova Elite Four buck a few trends from the previous games. For one, you can fight them in any order, which is cool but a bit of a double-edged sword. If you know which room belongs to whom, you can plan the best route for success, especially important in a Nuzlocke. The flip side is that they're all equally leveled. There's no gradual ascension in difficulty as you inch closer and closer to the champion. All their teams consist of 3 level 48s and 1 level 50. Which brings me to the other trend they've bucked. The Elite Four only use 4 Pokemon on their team. I love Gen 5, but a big issue I have is with the downscaling of the gym leaders and Elite Four teams. I get it, the Elite Four using 4 Pokemon, I guess? For this video, I'll be giving myself the liberty of using hidden abilities normally only available in the sequels, to make these teams a bit more interesting, and I choose to imagine it as Game Freak generating hype for the abilities' eventual releases when Black and White 2 rolls around. Lastly, I won't be covering the champions in this video, as Black and White are a bit of a special case, having you fight a legendary, then N, then Getsus, and the true champion older is the post-game. Basically, I'd burn myself out, and this video would be like an hour and a half long otherwise, so I'll cover them in an upcoming video. You know what? Question of the day. Plenty of Pokemon in Unova evolve stupidly late, but how about this? Which Pokemon evolves surprisingly early? I'd say Houndoom. You really get these stats, and awesome dual typing at level 24. The same generation that made you wait until level 38 for Slugma to evolve. Come on now. Let's start with Chantal, the Ghost user. I think I'll cover this Elite Four from best to worst, and I'm not biased just because she's a Ghost type user. Anyway, Chantal, she's a freaking bookworm nerd. What's really interesting about her is that in your rematch battles, she has 5 different possible intro dialogues, which I think makes her the only Elite Four member in the series to have such a feature. She often talks about lines she's written, or trainers she's met, which she uses as inspiration for her novels, such as Volkner, who hit her with the electric Riz. Do you know Thunderbolt? Being the first words out of his mouth to her. Hold up, looking at Volkner's team, there's no Thunderbolters. My man's genuinely never seen the move himself. Actually, Flint's Mag Mortar has Thunderbolt. Maybe Flint swiped the TM from Volkner when he wasn't looking. Wait, I'm getting off topic here. Let's look at Chantal's team and see why I think it's the best of the bunch. She leads with Cough Egregious at level 48, with Mummy, knowing Shadow Ball, Psychic, Grass Knot and Will-O-Wisp. I used one of these in my first Black playthroughs as a kid. It was pretty decent, and has a nice stat spread, though I'd love just a bit more HP. Its ability Mummy is very interesting. If the player makes contact with Cough Egregious, then they gain Mummy. It's like a disease, or the curse of the Pharaoh's tomb. Its moveset is straightforward, 3 attacks and Will-O-Wisp. If you're burned, good luck KOing this mon with a physical move. Grass Knot feels like a surprise pick to catch out random threats like Crocodile, though in general it's lacking a solid option for most dark types. A Ghost's best friend in that regard is Fighting Coverage, which is good against the Ghost resists Dark, Normal and Steel. Still, for the lead, I'll take it. Second is Jellicent at level 48 with Cursed Body, knowing Shadow Ball, Surf, Energy Ball and Brine. Another bulky Ghost, this time leaning more on the special side. Water Ghost is a pretty interesting typing. Their weaknesses and resists don't overlap at all, so you have a Pokemon with 4 common-ish weaknesses, but with 6 resists and 2 immunities. For a Pokemon with these stats, I wouldn't expect it to be 4 attacks. Using the obligatory stabs and grass coverage again, okay. Brine has its purpose in likely KOing any mon under half health, though a bit of utility would have been appreciated. Third is Golurk at level 48 with Iron Fist, Inno Shadow Punch, Earthquake, Brick Break and Curse. Again, I like the typing. The stats say a slow, physical, well, not tank, but I guess it can take a hit. Doesn't it feel like this thing should have over base 100 HP? Anyway, the moveset, it's fine. Stab EQ of course, Iron Fist makes Shadow Punch 72 base power, so that's acceptable but not ideal. And hey, there's that fighting coverage that works so well for Ghost types, though Brick Break doesn't get the Iron Fist boost. For Curse, well, it's good at denying setup sweepers free reign, otherwise it's easy to dance around it. Though it's a nice option to deal with Chantal's biggest hater, Eviolite Vullaby. Yes, Vullaby, since they evolve at level 54. Though not perfect, I like this addition a lot, as it helps push back against more dark types like Scrafty and Poniard, maybe Bishop if you're overleveled. Last out is Chandelure at level 50 with Flame Body, knowing Shadow Ball, Fire Blast, Psychic and Payback? Come on, Chantal, you were doing so well. Look at Chandelure's stats. Okay, that being said, Fire Blast equals you're done. I love this Pokemon. I'm a big fan of when Game Freak just make a regular Pokemon have legendary level offense, and it's not like the rest of its stats are a joke either. Also, if we're giving any Ghost to Grass move, I'd have picked this one. As I've said before, Fire is weak to Water, Ground and Rock, which are perfect targets for an Energy Ball. Here's Chantal's team. I think she's the toughest Elite Four member, and I mean, her team isn't absurd, I'd say. Competent is more fitting, with the odd, questionable decision. What really helps is that Ghost itself is a solid typing. The Ghost Pokemon of Unova are respectable, and cover different roles within a team. Apart from Cofagrigus, they all sport useful secondary typings that to some capacity help against certain Unovan Dark types. But let's take her team further. As a Ghost type fan, I have to do it justice. She now leads with Jellicent at level 50, with Cursed Body, holding a spell tag, knowing Scald, Hex, Ice Beam and Trick Room. Apart from Chandelure, Unovan Ghosts are slow, and I don't think I've used Trick Room yet, so let's give it a go. For its moves, while Shadow Ball is the standard Ghost move, I think it'd be nice to try and get some Hex value. Though this is before the Hex buff, so its 50 base power is doubled to 100 against a status Pokemon, though with the spell tag that would become 120 base power. Considering the Scald's 30% burn chance and even Ice Beam's 10% freezes, it's worth having it rep somewhere. Second out is Golurk at level 50 with no guard, holding a Fighting Gem and knowing Shadow Punch, Earthquake, Dynamic Punch and Stone Edge. We're making use of the hidden ability for this one, channeling that Machamp energy with never missing Dynamic Punches and Stone Edges. And the Fighting Gem to really hit those dark types hard. I see the humour in no guard Shadow Punch, but unfortunately it's the best physical Ghost Stab Golurk has. Third out, and I'm sorry for this, is Jellicent 2 at level 50 with Water Absorb, holding a Quick Claw, knowing Water Spout, Shadow Ball, Giga Drain and Recover. Ghosts are really limited in Unova, and there's not really any non-ghost type I feel we could get away with using this time. So let's try and differentiate this a bit here. First of all, it's the other gender, so physically there's that contrast. We're using its other ability Water Absorb, which complements Golurk and Chandelure's water weakness, and the enemy AI is known to switch into type immune Pokemon, so it doesn't make sense for the Water Absorber to be the lead Jellicent. With the Quick Claw, I'm hoping for cheeky outspeeding shenanigans, fast Water Spouts sound terrifying, and fast healing, which continues the speed-altering theme his sister Jelly has going for it with Trick Room. Fourth is Cofagrigus at level 51 with Mummy, holding a Leftovers, knowing Hex, Hidden Power Fighting, Will-O-Wisp and Calm Mind. I've opted to lean a bit more into Cofagrigus' bulky side with Calm Mind enabling a setup sweep. After just one boost, it will be incredibly tanky on both sides of the spectrum, being further enhanced by the Leftovers. I wanted to go for Hex again, since we have Will-O-Wisp on the moveset, and while I'm not one to give trainers hidden power, for Ghost or Psychic trainers it doesn't feel out of place to me. It'd be Hidden Power Fighting, 70 base power, which works perfectly since endgame trainers often have base 30 IVs across the board, which translates to that exact hidden power. Her ace is Chandelure at level 52, with Flame Body, holding a White Herb, knowing Shadow Ball, Overheat, Energy Ball and Haze. Okay, so I've changed Fire Blast for White Herb Overheat. Psychic is now Energy Ball to cover Shandy's weak points, and Haze, not only is it to reset any of the player's buffs, but if Chandelure lasts long enough, it can reset the Overheat Special Attack debuff. Basically though, this thing wants to one-shot you with Overheat, or take down its bad matchups with Energy Ball. It's a powerful ace, and Chandelure is just a great Gen 5 Pokemon. Here's the team. Starting with the Ghost E4 member maybe wasn't the best as I've had to duplicate a Pokemon, which isn't something I've done with any other Elite 4 member, but Unova's quite limited in certain types. That being said, her team now has more way to spread status with Will-O-Wisp and Dynamic Punch Confusions, as well as Trick Room and Quick Claw to help her slower Pokemon move first. While Dark is still the best angle to attack her from, her team covers their secondary typing's weaknesses better. Golurk being immune to Electric for the Gelatins was always a thing, but now they return the favour with Water Absorb. Next is Grimsley, the Dark type user. Looking at his Sun and Moon concept art, you could convince me this is Marnie's other brother. Not Piers, but Pablo? Sure. In Unova though, he looks all fancy with his room and his spiral red carpet, but in reality his wealthy family fell from grace, which in turn caused the poor lad to develop a gambling addiction. But don't worry, he can't be doing too badly if he can shell out 6k every time he loses. He leads with Scrafty at level 48, with Moxie, knowing Crunch, Brick Break, Poison Jab and Sand Attack. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but fairy types don't yet exist. In fact, this is a pretty good time to have this dual typing. only weak to fighting and flying, immune to psychic, 4 times resist dark, and 2 times resist ghost and rock. And considering Scrafty is pretty bulky, we're off to a good start. The rest of its move pool is fairly uneventful, 2 decent stabs and sand attack. I mean, it's kinda random, but accuracy debuffs can force switches from the player, as well as curb any setup sweeping. Scrafty can fill a variety of roles, so with Moxie I think I'd like to see a bit more of an all-out approach. Still, overall, it's a good lead. Second is Crocodile at level 48, with Intimidate, knowing Crunch, Earthquake, Dragonclaw and Foul Play. A very popular Pokemon in Unova, and for good reason. A fun typing, great stat spread, amazing defensive ability in Intimidate, or offensively you have the coveted Moxie. Grimsley has the standard Dark and Ground Stab. Foul Play is a bit redundant, considering Crook's amazing attack, and Dragon coverage on a non-Dragon type gives me a weird vibe. How about you guys? But it's got its uses against the dragons, of course. Overall, not too shabby. Third is Liepard at level 48, with Limber, knowing Night Slash, Air Release, Fake Out and Attract. Chantal had a bad move, but Grimsley has a bad Pokemon. I like Liepard, but a mixed attacker with 446 BST means it's very frail and doesn't hit hard enough. Guaranteed damage with Fake Out is something, and if you outspeed and get lucky with Attract, then yeah, good stuff. But overall, it's not going to last long. The strongest attack being the 70 base power, Night Slash also isn't quite cutting it. If only you had Super Luck. His ace is Bisharp at level 50 with Defiant, knowing Night Slash, Metal Claw, X Scissor and Air Release. There may be no King Gambit, but Bisharp is plenty competent with a 490 BST, decent stat spread and typing. Apart from that, 4 times weakness to fighting. Quite frankly, his whole team gets murked by fighting types, so nothing new. This moveset feels a bit underwhelming. Night Slash Stab is okay, Metal Claw is kind of a joke, and X Scissor is fine. For Air Release, it's something for fighting on bug types, so I can't complain. This moveset could be worse, but I'm not really impressed looking at it. And fun fact, Pawniard evolves at level 52, so Grimsley is cheating. Unovan Evolution Curse strikes again, but Grimsley doesn't care. Here's his team, 3 solid dual types and 1 Liepard. He has good physical offense with powerful stabs, and interesting choices for coverage. Dark being weak to only fighting and bug this generation means that any flying coverage is greatly appreciated. If only there was a Dark flying type in this region. Grimsley now leads Crook at level 50, with Intimidate holding a soft sand, knowing Earthquake, Crunch, Stone Edge and Stealth Rock. It took courage to deny Crook Moxie, and settle with the only amazing Intimidate. And while we still have 3 powerful attacks, we may as well give Crook sub-utility if it's looking to live for more than 1 turn. It's a pretty straightforward bond, so let's keep going. Second out is Liepard at level 50, with Prankster holding a Dark Gem, knowing Foul Play, Assist, Swagger and Thunderwave. Let's have some fun. I'm not too into Confusion strats, but since Foul Play will use the Pokemon's attack stat, it sounds like a high risk, high reward synergy, especially with the Dark Gem, which helps ensure that Foul Play will hit hard, regardless of being against a special attacker. Prankster's Thunderwave is great for speed control, and Prankster Assist? How could I not? And hey, it's a subtle reference to Grimsley's gambling addiction. What move will he pull? Will he hit it big? Or, I don't know, crash out? Third is Bisharp at level 50. It's Defiant, holding Black Glasses, knowing Iron Head, Sucker Punch, Air Release and Sword Stance. We've upgraded Metal Claw to Iron Head, replaced Night Slash for Black Glasses boosted Sucker Punch, and with Sword Stance at +2, the player will need to be weary of those powerful priority punches. While Iron Head is actually preferred to Air Release against most fighting types, due to its flinching chance, I've kept it as it has its place against Emboar, though you're dying in that matchup most likely. Oh, and I never mentioned its ability earlier, but Defiant is great. Intimidate only makes it stronger. Fourth out is Scrafty at level 51 with Moxie holding a Chople Berry, knowing Low Kick, Crunch, Thunder Punch and Sand Attack. I've replaced Poison Jab for Thunder Punch to help against flying types, and honestly, Sand Attack I was going back and forth on, but I guess it can stay as it makes a lot of sense with Grimsley's gambling personality. And lastly, the Chople Berry lets Scrafty at least somewhat account for its weaknesses. Fifth is Vullaby, I mean Mandibuzz at level 52 with Big Pecs, holding Leftovers, knowing Fly, Punishment, Toxic and Protect. It's underleveled, how could I? Again, sorry, Grimsley is already cheating with his underleveled Bisharp, so he started it. Anyway, Mandibuzz is very tanky. Let's lean into that with the Leftovers and 2 turn attacks in Fly to make the most of it, as well as Protect, which synergizes with Toxic Stalling. And lastly, Punishment. This move gets stronger the more stat boosts the player's Pokemon has. At its weakest, it's still 60 base power, gaining +20 for each stage boosted per stat. It's a way to, well, punish setup sweepers, and it's not a move you see often, so why not? Since it's part flying, it matches up really well against fighting and bug types, which otherwise have a pretty fun time against Unova's dark types. Here's Grimsley's new team, a little bit trickier with Liepard and Mandibuzz, something I feel suits the dark types. While in the middle we have hard hitters, priority and setup. Hopefully we can give the player a better showcase of what dark types can do, before fairy types ruin their lives. Caitlin is a psychic type user. Her room consists of one fancy bed, which reminds me of my girlfriend. She's always sleeping. In fact, she's sleeping as I typed this, and as I narrate this. It's interesting that she's even in the Unova Elite Four, as she's originally from the Gen 4 games. She serves as the frontier brain of the battle castle. Well, Darak more so, her valet. Back then she acted more so like a spoiled rich girl, impatient and stern, but by Gen 5, she's done a lot of growing up, and honed her skills by travelling Unova. Now her personality is being tired all the time. So relatable! I really appreciate this cross-generational character growth. Keep the characters recurring, Game Freak. And let's see if she can rep Sinnoh proud. First out is Reuniclus at level 48 with Magic Guard, knowing Psychic, Energy Ball, Thunder and Focus Blast. It's bulky, slow, and a special attacker with 4 powerful attacks. Even if Thunder and Focus Blast are shaky in accuracy. Still, just having a way to threaten dark types is appreciated. This variance in offense is a good way to prevent being walled and becoming setup fodder. Though this lead isn't incredible, it's not too shabby. Second out is Musharna with Synchronize, knowing Psychic, Shadow Ball, Charge Beam and Reflect. Another slow, bulky special attacker. That's one of the 2 flavor psychic types coming in Unova, so there's gonna be some overlap. How similar are their stats? I mean, Musharna is slower by 1 point, significantly bulkier, and not quite as offensively minded. This is emphasized further with it being calm-natured, while Reuniclus is rash. So honestly, Musharna kinda slays. Reflect raises up its lower but still solid defense stat, and Charge Beam, I appreciate the attempt to use your bulk and boost your special attack. Lastly, Shadow Ball. It's fine, we had Focus Blast for dark types, now Shadow Ball for the ghosts. I quite like Musharna here, some things to tweak, pretty weak against dark types for one, though Charge Beam at least deals with one of them. I'm referring to Vullaby again, of course. Third is Sigilif at level 48 with Wonder Skin, knowing Psychic, Air Slash, Shadow Ball and Ice Beam. Sigilif, my beloved, don't you all think that this just looks like an unknown A piloting some weird flying contraption, or is it just me? Whatever, this is the second category of Unovan psychic types, fast psychic flyers, and Sigilif I prefer over Swoobat. It learns awesome coverage moves, as you can see with Ice Beam. These moves in combination give great coverage against bugs, ghosts, and certain dual typing dark types, like Vullaby. Stop mentioning Vullaby! It's using its bland ability, but other than that, it's pretty solid. Her ace is Gothitelle at level 50 with Frisk, knowing Psychic, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, and Calm Mind. We're back to slow, bulky psychic types. A crocodile's dream, but in a more neutral matchup, this can pull off something. Lastly, the ability is underwhelming, but its second ability, Competitive, wasn't released until Gen 6, and obviously I'm not going to fault Game Freak for not using its yet-to-be-released hidden ability. That's just a luxury I'm giving myself. Here's Caitlin's team. I praised them quite thoroughly, so why is she the second weakest Elite Four member in my eyes? Well, yes, she has solid coverage, and each Pokemon has a decent enough stat spread, but it's the lack of diversity. 3 slow, bulky special attacking mono-psychic types, and 1 faster special attacking psychic flyer. For what she's had to work with, she's done well, don't get me wrong, but there's still glaring flaws in her team's balance. I'm not sure we can completely fix that, but let's do our best. She'll now lead with Sigilif at level 50 with Magic Guard, holding a Life Orb, knowing Psychic, Air Slash, Charge Beam and Ice Beam. There's a few routes you can take Sigilif, and I did consider the bulky Cosmic Power build, but this sounds more fun. The moveset was already a dub, but I did replace Shadow Ball for Charge Beam to let it have some sort of setup move. So it's a lead with a diverse set of attacks that can deal 30% more damage without worrying about Life Orb's 10% recoil thanks to Magic Guard. You can get a Life Orb in the battle subway if you're persistent enough, so if you haven't used a Sigilif before in a Gen 5 playthrough, I recommend it. Second is Musharna at level 50 with Synchronize, holding Leftovers, knowing Stored Power, Energy Ball, Defense Curl and Calm Mind. I'm feeling evil, with the option of boosting both defenses and special attack, which coincides with boosting Stored Power. That and the Leftovers and of course full restores could lead to a nasty setup sweeper. This limits its coverage though, so Pokemon like Pawniard or better yet the well-renowned Punishment Vullaby could have their moment of glory. Third is Darmanitan at level 50 with Zen mode, holding a Charcoal, knowing Flame Charge, Earthquake, Fire Blast and Psychic. one of the few possible hidden abilities Unovan Pokemon can legally have in Black and White 1, so I had to include it. Here's Darmanitan's regular stats, and here's its stats in Zen mode, aka when it's at half health and below. Also, it gains the Psychic typing. So we have a moveset split down the middle depending on what mode it's in. Flame Charge and Earthquake to start off with, and in case Caitlyn full restores. Then, Fire Blast and Psychic for powerful special attacks when on low health. The ideal scenario in my head is turn 1, Flame Charge. Then when the player attacks Darm, it brings it under half health, to start turn 2 with the slower Zen mode Darm at +1 speed, outspeeding and just going to town, firing off powerful attacks. As a kid when I played Pokemon Showdown, I really wanted to make Flame Charge Zen mode Darmanitan work. So, here's me paying respects to my past self. Fourth out is Gallade. Hold your horses. It's level 51 with Steadfast, holding a scope lens, knowing Psycho Cut, Brick Break, Stone Edge, and Leaf Blade. Before I get cancelled. Yes, I know this is a Unovan Pokemon only region, but again, Caitlyn isn't from Unova. She travelled here. I chose Gallade based on what Pokemon she, or rather Dirac, uses when you fight them in the Battle Castle. From what I can see, there's only 5 options, and one is Entei, so 4 options, but then one's only Psychic type. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Gallade acts as her bodyguard, so it seems appropriate he'd come with her when travelling to a new region. I think this adds a lot of intrigue to her character. If you've seen it from Gen 4, then it'll be a nice nod to that, and for the players that never played the Battle Castle, they'll be intrigued as to just why she has a Sinnoh Pokemon. Its moveset is based on what it gets in the Battle Castle. I would have gone for Night Slash as well, but a Psychic team really would appreciate a fighting move. To that end, Brick Break I was just vibing with. It's sort of middle of the road, but I had an urge to have a way to counter dual screens. It was calling out to me. It's a curveball pick that can crit often. Her ace is still Gothitelle at level 52 with Shadow Tag, holding a Kasib Berry, and knows Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Attract and Calm Mind. Ah, Shadow Tag. An amazing ability. It's like the AI is constantly affected by it, with how rarely they switch. The Kasib Berry has a Ghost type attack. That with Shadow Tag makes Gothitelle the resident Ghost killer, and I know some people will be in the comments saying Ghosts can't be trapped by abilities like Shadow Tag. Well, that wasn't a thing until Gen 6. Interestingly, I've gone without Stab, something I basically never do, but I wanted this to be a more specialised revenge killer. Taking out targets like any Ghost type, or, for example, Vullaby. I guess maybe it looks a bit weird without Psychic, but so be it. Here's Caitlyn's team. I've tried to make the most of it, differentiate as much as I can with how heavily Psychic's roles overlap in this generation. With the cheeky Zen mode Darm and the even cheekier Sinnoh Gallade, each team member does something different. I had fun working on this team, but it's time to move on to the last Elite Four member. Marshall uses fighting types, and clearly his fashion has been influenced by Sawk and Throw with those black belts. He's training under Alder to master the art of fighting. Alder doesn't strike me as the fighting sort. I mean, Pokemon battling, sure, but fighting himself? Honestly, I actually don't know much about the guy, so I can't say. Anyway, I consider Marshall to be the weakest Elite Four member of the bunch. Is he woefully worse than everyone else? Let's see. He leads with Throw at level 48 with Guts, knowing Storm Throw, Stone Edge, Payback and Bulldoze. A slow, bulky mono fighter that has options to deal with its 2 weaknesses, Stone Edge for flyers, Payback for psychics. Payback is especially nice, since Throw is so slow it's likely to get the double damage effect from moving last. Bulldoze is okay, but it's a bit of anti-synergy with Payback due to it lowering the foe speed. And Storm Throw is 40 base power that always crits, so it's nothing special. Second is Sawk at level 48 with Sturdy, knowing Karate Chop, Stone Edge, Retaliate and Grass Knot? Marshall, what are you doing? Why are we using base 50 Karate Chop, the random move you learn at level 25? Why not Low Sweep, or Brick Break, or even Double Kick? Close combat is illegal, fair enough, but at level 49 you would learn it. I'm just saying. Why oh why would you use Karate Chop out of all the options you have? And don't get me started on Grass Knot. Sawk has base 30 special attack. That's what Combi has. I'm unsure if there's a thematic reasoning as the move description states it. Snares the foe with grass and trips it. So maybe it's about tripping your opponent when fighting? I don't know. On the bright side, at least Stone Edge is here again for flying types. And Retaliate, with its guaranteed base 140 damage for the first turn, is nice. But there's some strange energy here, Marshall. Third out is Conkeldurr at level 48 with Sheer Force, knowing Hammer Arm, Stone Edge, Retaliate and Grass Knot. What the hell? Does he yearn to be a grass trainer? In the rematch, he does gain a Breloom, so maybe? It's not like Alder is a grass type user or anything either. Okay, but look, apart from that, it's still Conkeldurr, crazy high attack, and pretty bulky. But unfortunately, Sheer Force does nothing here. Clearly, you should have gone for Sheer Force Focus Blast. His ace is Mienshao at level 50 with Inner Focus, knowing Jump Kick, Rock Slide, Retaliate, and U-Turn. So the one Pokemon that you could reasonably use Grass Knot on with its base 95 special attack, you decide to make purely physical. I need to know what goes on in Game Freak's noggins when designing these teams. Mienshao is a very cool Pokemon. Powerful fast mixed attacker, though it's frail of course. Good stab and jump kick, just don't miss. And Rock Slide and U-Turn for flying and psychics is good to see. And there's Retaliate again, fine. This mod hasn't been used badly, but I know we can get more out of it. Here's Marshall's team. Why is it the worst? 4 mono fighters, all physical attackers, apart from the pointless Grass Knots, which could be worth something if used on Mienshao. There's the mid Storm Throw stab, and the egregious Karate Chop on Sawk that really ticks me off. It is good to see Marshall as solid countermeasures to fighting's weaknesses, but like Caitlyn, her team is a bit too one-track minded. So in this rework, he'll still lead with Throw at level 50, with Guts, holding the leftovers. You'll know Revenge, Payback, Stone Edge, and Bulk Up. I've leaned more into the slow, bulky counter-attacking angle by giving it Revenge over Storm Throw. And I've replaced Bulldoze with Bulk Up to incite fear in the player of a potential setup sweep. Since this is a bulky Pokemon, it gets the leftovers, an item I've made sure to give to one Pokemon on each Elite Four team. Second is Sawk at level 50, with Sturdy, holding a normal gem, knowing Close Combat, Earthquake, Stone Edge, and Retaliate. I was tempted to go with Mold Breaker. It would have a few uses against certain Pokemon, but wouldn't really flip a bad matchup I think. So instead, Sturdy is always useful, especially on a Mon that is sort of middle of the road in bulk. And if it opts to Close Combat first, with those lower defenses, it doesn't have to worry about being outright KO'd in one hit. It's holding the normal gem to grant Retaliate a whopping 210 base power. Pretty straightforward, but should be pretty effective. Third is Mienshao at level 50. It has Regenerator, holding a Life Orb, knows Aura Sphere, Rock Slide, U-Turn, and Fake Out. Mienshao is a bit more flexible than other Unovan fighting types. I was tempted to go for a reckless, high jump kicker, but I feel like the raw damage from that would force the player into using Protect or using a Ghost type. It felt a bit too oppressive if you didn't have the countermeasures, and a bit too easy if you did. So instead, I opted for this. Aura Sphere for the rare fighting type special attack, Rock Slide for fast flinches, and U-Turn to enable Regenerator, and of course Fake Out for that free damage that it could possibly use multiple times if it switches out and in. The Life Orb is a great fit for a mixed attacker that can switch out and heal itself by doing so. Fourth is Emboar at level 51 with Blaze, holding a White Herb, knowing Superpower, Firepower, Grass Knot, and Will-O-Wisp. I already know a few of you won't like I've given him a starter. The other option is Scrafty, but its Pokédex talks about its underhanded fighting tactics, not something I believe Marshall would stoop to. As a starter, its stats are pretty solid, and Emboar adds a waft of type variety to his team. We still have high-powered fighting offense and superpower, first use being free thanks to the White Herb, and with Fire Blast and Grass Knot, should Emboar's attack be lowered, he can rely on special attacks just fine with its competent special attack stat. Lastly, Will-O-Wisp. I have given my man some support move. Pure offense is fun, but we might as well broaden his options a smidgen with one of the few Pokemon that can do that. His ace is now Conkeldurr at level 52, with Guts holding a Flame Orb, knowing Drain Punch, Mach Punch, Stone Edge, and Facade. 4 attack Guts with Conkeldurr Sky High attack. Boosted by 1.5 times, it can hit incredibly hard with Stone Edge and Facade. Powerful Mach Punch priority, and strong healing with Drain Punch. It's simple but gets to the point across. Marshall is all about strength, and I believe competitive gamers would call his team Hyper Offense. Here's Marshall's team. We've had a few sneakier teams today, but here is just straight up offense. You just know the man hates stall players. While it'd be nice to have Scrafty for the Psychic matchup, it really didn't feel in character for Marshall, so we've made do with his pre-existing team members, replacing obsolete moves and tuned up the offense to the max. And that's it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. No champion today, as with Black and White, you fight N, then Getsus, and Alders in the postgame, so it's definitely worth splitting this into 2 videos. Anyway, that's it from me. I hope you've all enjoyed and have a good day. See ya.